Let me give a hypothetical. You walk into your local market, needing groceries because we as humans for some reason need to eat to live. You wander around, fill up your cart, but somehow you end up in the 12 items or less line. You didn't see it, so you start putting your items on the belt anyway. The cashier notices only once you have half the items on the belt. That's probably because they were more focused on giving the customer in front of you the right change. The cashier tells you you can't use this line, you have more than 12 items. Do you get mad at the cashier? Berate them for not telling you sooner and to just help you since you're already there? Or do you have the right reaction and become apologetic for your mistake, quickly placing your items back in the cart and just go to self-checkout like you should have done? Because if you do the former, you are a bad person. Hello, my lovely kittens. It's Perry, and I've been thinking way too hard to come up with this month's topic. This is why I upload monthly and not weekly, guys. My brain can't come up with topics like this on the fly. Anywho, I thought I'd express my horrible retail stories. Note that I'm still currently working in retail, but I am not talking about my current company. I actually love my store, coworkers, and job at hand. I will be talking about my first company I worked for, a localized grocery chain in my area. I guess I could call it Chow Tiger? If you know, you know. But before I get started, just a quick reminder that if you like the art behind me, then a click on the like button would be appreciated. Each like lets me know people still enjoy my videos, even with subpar editing software. And if you love seeing my little cat face, then click subscribe. Also, don't forget to click the bell to be notified for my monthly videos. This piece is actually made for a new sub, going by Felix Orange Paws on Instagram. Thank you, Felix, for letting me draw your cute fox babes. They have him in a more cartoony flash game sort of art style, so I hope my spin on Japanese traditional is acceptable. I'm gonna start these stories off with my first day working. That's right, my first day off of shadowing as a nightmare customer. My first position at this job was at the register. Let me say that again. My first ever job on my first day working alone at the register. What do you think would be happening? A lot of mistakes, a lot of taking my time. I was slow, especially with some produce. But that's expected. Most of the customers were understanding. One, however, was not. I guess I took too long with the person in front of him, 'cause all he had was a few food cans and 2 gallons of milk. Easy stuff to scan. He says I need to speed it up. Now, he didn't sound irritated, and I just laughed it off, explaining I'm doing my best. But then he gets right in my face. This was before the pandemic. Right in my face, deadpan, and tells me I'm never gonna make it in this company. I was stunned into silence. I stared at him dumbfounded before my movements would stutter. I didn't say anything to him after that, and God bless the woman behind him telling me I was doing a good job. But I still ended up crying. I don't handle face-to-face confrontation very well. My manager pulled me into the office by the front door so I could calm down. But really? On my first day? He wasn't the only one. I would say maybe a month or 2 later, I start getting the hang of it. I started getting faster, but the produce was still a problem. See, some produce has a scan bar. Others, you have to punch in a number. I still struggled with figuring out which ones did. Where on this day... Okay. This story is more traumatic for me. Alright. A couple comes in on my line with a bag of oranges. The issue is I couldn't find either a number sticker or a scan bar, so I assumed I could just look it up in the system. When they told me the specific orange they were, I couldn't find it. The idea didn't occur to me till maybe 5-7 minutes later of me trying to figure this out that the scan bar was ripped off the bag. The husband went and got me a bag that I could properly scan, and that was the end of it. I thanked them for their patience and all that. Now, note, this man behind them attempted to help, telling me which oranges they were. I simply asked him if he was sure, because they didn't look like the pictures shown to me with the product name on the computer. Telling me he's a farmer, of course he knows. Okay, fine, but it still didn't fix the problem. Now this man gets his turn with his dozen cobs of corn. It doesn't help that we carry 4 different types of corn, and this farmer ended up on the phone, so I couldn't have asked him. So I just assumed it was the more common yellow corn. They still had the shucks on, and I didn't want to peel it back to see, knowing this guy was already agitated enough. Turns out I was wrong, and it was a different kind. I can't remember if he said it was white or Indian corn, but I guess that was the final straw. He flew off at me, saying he would just go to a different register with someone who knew how to do their job, yelling that I shouldn't be working here if I didn't know the differences of corns and oranges. Side note, during my training videos, corn was not something they tested me on. I remember apples, tomatoes, onions, potatoes, but not corn. Maybe there were a few oranges, but if there were, it would still be excused why I was confused if the scan code was missing from this particular bag. I once again had another breakdown, alarming my manager that day. I love her for this, because she told a coworker to take him and get him out before she kills him. That will forever be funny to me. Months after that, they would put me on the specific register. Only one register had the cigarette cabinet behind it, so if you wanted cigarettes, you had to go to that register. I wasn't there too often, and they were not in my training videos. So I was still figuring out the prices, since they were not priced on the cabinet. I had what appeared to be a mother and a son coming up to me. The son asked for specific roll papers, which to me were easier to find, but the mother had asked for certain prices of specific cigarette boxes. Now, I have a coworker I grew close with during this year, and he would joke and be funny, so I tried my hand at that. I know I wasn't rude about it. I kept a soft, sweet voice telling her, I don't know, I don't smoke. But instead of letting me continue where I could have said, but tell me what you're looking for and I can price check, she popped off, talking a whole bunch of nonsense I honestly blocked out for a coworker in front of me to switch with me so she can just get the woman out. But now she was behind me, not letting it go, and spinning it like I was a bitch. Saying my words in a harsh tone like I said it that way when I didn't. Pissing me off to the point the woman I was actually working on, who knew the conversation, heard how I said it. She just told me to calm down, she's just being crazy. A few minutes after getting back on my register, my manager that day pulls me aside, and I told her what happened. I was just trying to be funny. I didn't say it the way she was making it out to be. At least my manager understood I was just making an attempt to be a person and not a mindless robot to a customer. The bitch. There was another time an older woman gave me crap. It wasn't to the extent of this, but it was still rude as hell. If at the register you have no one in line and your kiosk looks neat and tidy, you were supposed to go stand in front of the line, bringing customers over. So as I stand there, I would assume a grandma and a grandson walk by. She asked where something was. I couldn't remember if it was bread or pizza. Reminder, I never shopped like that. I never paid attention to stuff like that. I just go till I see it. But if you look up at the signs, it will tell you where your items can be located. But I just told her I didn't know. She popped an attitude with, "You work here, don't you?" I had enough of these rude people, so I clapped back with the same attitude, "Yeah, the register. I need you all to understand something. It would be concerning for a stock member to not know where an item is. But if a cashier doesn't know where an item is, assume that's all they do at that store. Assume they don't go shopping there, because yes, I worked there. But I never ventured the aisles looking for things, so no, I don't know where things were. Maybe you would have known if you looked at the signs!" That's another thing. I was trying to read the signs, but my eyes were too blind to read that far. Where the bread was, I couldn't see. Where the frozen food was, I couldn't see. So no matter what it was she was asking for, I could not tell her where I was, but at least I was doing what she didn't bother doing, and looking at the signs! The boost of karma. When she was finally done, she came to my line! At least no more words were exchanged, though. I have one more incident, and this one isn't really a nightmare customer. It was more disturbing than stressful. I had moved from the register to stocking specifically the produce. The Tiger has a back section where we cut up the produce and place them on the shelves. I had a coworker who would cut and package, and I would bring the carts out from the coolers. As I was on a step stool to reach the top shelf, placing some of these items up, this older man would not stop talking to me. Note, this was also 10 minutes before my shift ended too, so I was just trying to get everything out. I entertained the conversation because at this point the guy was just being friendly, sure, but it took a turn. He asked if I was seeing anyone, and at the time I was. Not knowing where that conversation would go, I lied and said I was with a woman and that I didn't like men. He then went on a tangent about God and something, and I blocked that out. He then said he knew everyone in town and asked who my grandmother was. I gave him her name and he said he knew her. I caught his BS because my grandparents don't live in this county, nor had they ever. At this point, I was done with this man, putting my attention back to my shelves, blocking out most of his words. But out of pocket, nowhere warranted, he started talking about my grandmother's breast milk. I was stunned, giving a nervous smile as I hurried up, just throwing things on the shelves. I know I told him straight up that wasn't appropriate, but I don't remember what came of that, and saw he started talking off to a mother and he was complimenting her child. I don't know, the guy gave me the creeps and I just wanted to clock out at that point. I know I told my manager. I hope that guy was looked into. But, surprisingly, that's all the horror stories I have. I don't have anything related to my current company. It's great. So much better than the Tiger. So tell me, what are some of your workplace horror stories? Shared trauma is always nice to bond over. And also tell me which of my stories you think is the worst one. I'm personally inclined on the corn farmer. Even just trying to write that memory was hard enough. But, as always, I hope all my kittens wake up every morning with fruit juice and sugar. And I hope I have a topic for next time.